Howdy, folks. Happy Friday. Thank God it's Friday. As I've said, this is not the weekend of sport that I look forward to, but some people do. I'm actually looking forward to tonight, though, with the some of the skills competitions and things that they have planned in Vegas. We'll talk about that later, but we will start with the pre-show. Go ahead, Ross.
Okay, so this will be the last time we talk about this for a while, but the Major League Baseball and the CBA have taken a noted turn that I've seen before. When I wrote a book with Nico Riesgo called Strike Three, and we lost the World Series in 94, 95, this was exactly the way it went. And Major League Baseball earlier in the week said, we'll get back to you with a counter proposal, just a couple days. And then yesterday was like, you know what? We're not giving you a counter proposal. So then now Major League Baseball is calling in a federal mediator, but so did Donald Fear back then, and it did nothing. It took 8 months to negotiate with a federal mediator. So neither side wants to work with the other. Inevitably, Tony Clark will probably get fired because he's taking the players down a road of potential destruction. Like, Kev, we're at a point now where there's a lot of other sports that have rose in popularity, and the baseball union could be broken this time.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe like that union has such a long history. And they've been strong. And I think they'll stand firm, and eventually you'll get a deal here. But I think they really, this was smart by owners that there's so much time here that they'll have the players have to think about it and so forth. So I'm still hopeful that they'll work something out.
Well, I hope so, because I want something that we can watch in the summer. But the thing is that when the baseball union was strong, it had Marvin Miller at the head, or it had Donald Fear at the head. They have Tony Clark, and I'm not taking anything away from, but he's a former player. He's not a lawyer. I don't think he's a lawyer. I don't believe he probably has a staff behind him. But I said to Russ, one of the things that's going to happen if we go into, say, March and April is you're going to have some of these players who are making like $35 million, like Giancarlo Stanton or Justin Verlander or Garrett Cole, saying, hey, I need this money. I want to get going here, get a deal done. And that pressure is, that's when you have the big boys putting that pressure on the leadership of the PA, that gets things moving. So I don't know whether we're going to have a standstill here, but I agree with Russ. The owners are playing that game where, okay, we'll get back to you. And then, no, we're not going to get back to you. So now the players are like, okay, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, the players are holding the bag right now. And back in, I want to say a couple months ago, 2-3 months ago, I said I thought the season would start in June. I still think that could happen. I don't believe there's a way that the season's going to start on time. I don't believe there'll be any minor league spring training. I don't think they'll. But here's the sneaky thing, Kev. While we weren't looking, the owners raised AAA the amount of games to 150. Gee, yeah. That's awfully close to the major league schedule, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, no, I have a lot more faith in the union than you do, Mike. I think the majority of players are not stars. It's been my experience that stars set it out. They don't get involved. They're not usually involved in the hierarchy of unions. The guys that run the unions that are the power brokers are usually average players because they have the most to lose. They benefit by all the little things that go into a contract where a guy making a lot of money. So, and I think that I don't know if Tony Clark's a great negotiator or a bad one. I really don't. But I do know that I think all the Major League Baseball players have a sense of the history of that union.
Sure.
And I don't think that there's going to be. I think they'll stand strong. Will they push it as far as they need to in order to get what they want? Well, probably not. But
well, Kev, look at the master plan here by Rob Manfred and the owners. So a couple of years ago, they started consolidating the minor leagues, so it will cost them less money. Now they made sure that most of the teams own all the stadiums or most everything at all of these venues. And now they've raised the AAA amount of games the most since 1964. Like, they were looking ahead at this and said, hey, we may not make our major league revenue, but if these guys are going to push us, at least we'll get something out of AAA here, and we'll really market the hell out of that. Because you know what could happen? As an example, in Philly, somebody asked me on Twitter, hey, if there's no Phillies, do you think Comcast would pick up on the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs? And I said, yeah, I think they would. If they know there's not a season, I think they'll sign on for half a season.
What's to stop the owners from saying, okay, Buffalo Bisons, you're going to play your games at the Rogers Center. You're just going to be the Buffalo Bisons playing in a major league park. Well, I mean, the Blue Jays played in a minor league park, so why couldn't the minor league team play in a major league park?
They could decide.
They could do that, but that's not going to generate.
No, probably not.
I mean, and the same thing, minor league baseball doesn't generate that kind of revenue. That I mean, it's not going to be like the major league owners are still going to lose.
No. But don't you think? Of course, they're going to lose money, but they know that because they're billionaires. But my point is, you could keep the average baseball fan engaged if you have some baseball.
Yeah, but it's not going to be much. The fan bases, and this, are more sophisticated than ever. They're not going to buy into this. They're going to, you hear people say all the time, "I'm not going to watch."
I'm a junkie. I'll watch it if it's on.
Yeah, I mean, you'll watch it, but then the novelty will wear off, except for a few people.
I think it'll be a hedge against. Basically it'll be okay. Yes, this is not major league. The only thing I'll be interested in watching some of the Yankee prospects because so that will draw you in. But
but I mean, it's not something you can put on every night.
No,
probably not. That's true.
Yeah, but you can put it on and it'll be better. But what's interesting to me is, and I've looked at this. The league that needs the union to be very strong has one of the weakest union. That's the NFL. Career expectancy is not good there. There's a lot of issues there, including non-guaranteed, contracts and about when players can be paid. And you look at even the amount of money that you can pay these guys to be on the taxi squad and everything else. I mean, it's still not, in my opinion, what it should be. But I think the next group, and it's often lost, are baseball players, because oftentimes they don't even start their career until 25 years old. It's totally acceptable for a guy to come up to the major leagues when he's 26 years old. And I mean, he's played in the minors for 8 years for nothing, living in an apartment with 5 other people.
Yeah.
I probably make more money than some AAA players. So.
Well, yeah, but that's why some of them have given up their dream, and at least Major League Baseball this year is going to pay for some housing. But if you don't have a family if you don't have a well-to-do family, most of the time you can't afford to be in the minors 4 or 5 years anymore.
Well, and finally, I saw a story on Real Sports where there are people out there that are investment people that are basically gambling on a player having success later on in their career. One of them is Fernando Tatis Jr. I don't know if it's an agent or just somebody who's investing, but basically he said, "I'll give you $10 million."
It's not even close to that. Yeah, I mean, for Tatis, it was a lot more than but they've given some people, like 150,000 or 250,000. And so they buy a percentage of your contract.
So it's like a share in a racehorse.
Right. It's like and they get like 10% of their future earnings, which for Tatis, he's now making, I think, $28 million. That's $2.8 million a year. So they, it's like buying a baseball card cheap, Russ, and then it going up. I mean, these guys are buying a percentage of the players. So
the problem is with Tatis, because we've seen he's had some early injuries and he's a speed guy, I'm not investing in Tatis. Like me personally, I'm going to find somebody else. But I like the idea of it, sure.
Well, one of the issues is they're primarily selling this idea, or they have more success with foreign ball players.
Okay.
And from especially ball players coming from poor areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, I've talked to somebody at length about this who knew a lot about it. And he said, yeah, you know, because it feels like they're sort of taking advantage of younger players who, who are desperate and everything. And he goes, yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But he said he was aware of one ball player who got $175,000. But that money went essentially right to his family, and it made a world of difference to their lives.
Yeah.
And it was worth it to him, like, because he doesn't know whether he's going to make it or he's not.
No, but this is like legal loan sharking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said that. Like I was troubled by it when I watched the same report, and subsequent to that, I've read stories about it because I'm sort of fascinated by this concept, and it's all an algorithm driven.
Right.
Yeah.
They basically plug in all the numbers and things and the history of players coming out of that particular country and so forth, and figure it all out, and then assign you what your probability is, and then they make you an offer based on that.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're not offering this to some guy who's an okay, like a B plus prospect that's in AA. They're offering it to Wander Franco. They're offering it to
no. But he's saying. No,
that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing, Russ. They're offering it to the guys who they think are going to have success.
Well, that's not entirely true, Mike. I mean, they're sure pinpointing the guys that are obvious, but they've identified some players. Like, I'll give you an example. They paid who was the guy that came up for the White Sox, Mercedes?
Yeah,
he was one of the guys that they landed, and he came up. And in fact, they interviewed him on another show that I've seen, and he said he was thrilled to be able to get that money.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was like 28 years old when he came up, so yeah, that was probably found money from. But anyway, I think it's fascinating, and yeah. All right, let's start the show. Ack will be joining us in a few minutes. He's having some computer issues, but we'll start because we wanted to ask Kevin about something.
Good news, by the way, from my wife. I had told the guys before the show, my wife got hurt playing soccer, and it's no surgery, just
that's great.
Yeah, all right,
that's great. Just a knee sprain and nothing.
She's tough. She'll be back.
Well, she is tough. My wife has had other injuries as well, and always comes back. So.
Hello, Hockey World. Today is Friday, February 4th, 2022.
So close. I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
Kevin Allen, Hockey Buzz.
It was the double Fs. That's what it was. And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. All right, Kev, we talked about it yesterday a lot with Joe Yerdon, and it was 24 hours out from the town hall meeting of death, which was the Chicago Blackhawks with Rocky Wirtz, his son Danny, Ed Olchak, a few others, and Rocky taking a question from Mark Lazarus and going nuclear in a sense, and answering the question. I mean, this is what I said yesterday. I think Rocky Wirtz was of a mindset that I paid the money. There's the non-disclosure agreement. I want to move on. Let's look forward and not look back at a situation which I think the Blackhawks sort of have to look back at to move forward. But he was not going to have any of it, and it is a PR disaster for them. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It isn't so much what he said; it's how he said it. And there are a couple of layers to that. First of all, Mark Lazarus, who is a quality journalist and a true professional, he presented that question in what I would consider the politest possible.
Absolutely.
way.
Yes.
He served it up. It was a nice underhand lob.
Yep.
And it gave the Wirtz family the opportunity to kind of say what they wanted to say. That was a real easy chance for them to say something to the effect of, as we've said before, we got it settled. Now we've implemented safeguards within our program that, I don't feel that I need to talk about, but they're in place. We feel good about where we are now. And we don't see that ever happen again. And boom, he could have said something like that.
Yeah.
And then, somebody got an answer, because you've got to respect that this is the job of a journalist, to be a watchdog. Like
Right.
you can't just say, yeah, it's all good and not expect follow up from journalists who want to provide some accountability to the fan base.
Yeah. Now, Kev, what I found to be the worst part of it after all the berating was he basically said, this is none of your business. And it's a town hall meeting. Like, you have your fans there. So now if nothing is the fans' business, why do I think the Blackhawks are changing at all? You're basically telling me now you're not going to tell me what's going on.
We're going to keep it internal of what our changes are going to be. Okay, right. How can anybody trust that when you've buried this for 12 years? And I think the worst optic, Kev, was Rocky Wirtz basically telling his son to shut up because his son wanted to answer it in the proper way, and he says, "No, I'll take care of this." Basically,
Yeah, and you can read all kinds of things into that. Now you wonder, did Rocky know more than he was saying? In the beginning, I bet Eddie Olczyk, a guy that I felt like should have been the new GM. Now you're kind of. I wonder if he was cringing because now he's really aligned with that.
Right.
So that was not a good look for him, not for the organization. You wonder what's going on. You wonder what Gary Bettman feels about this. I mean, you knew he wasn't going to speak about it because that's not his way.
But he's going to have to say something tonight.
Yeah. 2:45. He has a presser before the All-Star festivities in Vegas, and I would think that the first, second, and third questions are going to be about this, and then Arizona. The one good thing for Gary is that this takes Arizona off the front page, but he's still going to be asked.
Well, how about the Miami Dolphins situation?
Yeah.
Like when this happened, like I opened up my MSN, that the lead story was Rocky Wirtz. I turned on CNN. The story, they were not talking about the Miami Dolphins anymore. They were talking about Rocky Wirtz.
And here's the other part, Kev. So the other part is with Rick Westhead now saying that there's 2 or 3 more alleged lawsuits coming, one involving Miami University. Yeah. If the university one goes forward, this is going to be even uglier for the Blackhawks because now you're involving a university and kids, college kids. This is bad, and this has the potential to really. We thought the Blackhawks hit rock bottom. They may not have even hit rock bottom yet.
Well, okay. Think about this though. In the span of like 24 to 48 hours, you had the accusations about with Brian Flores, with the Giants, with the Dolphins, the lesser extent the Broncos, about how the Rooney Rule is being operated in the NFL. You had this situation with Rocky Wirtz and what Russ just said about Rick Westhead, and you had the accusations against Daniel Snyder of sexual harassment by him, not by people in the Washington organization, but by him. So the thing is, Kev, in the NFL, the owners are omnipresent and overpowerful, and I don't think anything's going to happen to Ross unless they have proof that he offered Flores $100,000 a game to lose games, and unless that the situation with Snyder is proven. I don't think anything's going to happen to them. Is anything going to happen with Rocky Wirtz? I mean, could they?
Well, you really can't. I mean, he owns the team. Like, what is the avenue?
So let's. Yeah. Mike and I were talking about this. So what if these other cases come forward, and again, it's negligence with the Blackhawks, where this is after now Kyle Beach, where they had a chance to take care of everything and they didn't. What if the other owners want the Wirtzes out and they just want to say, hey, listen, they got to sell the team?
Yeah. The problem with that is the cost.
Yeah.
The cost of that would be prohibitive, even for how much do you think the Blackhawks are worth?
Yeah. Probably close to $1 billion. And
probably more, probably like $2 billion.
But this is the thing, Russ. Okay, the only thing that you can really match this to is the Donald Sterling situation in the NBA with the Clippers. They had to overpay. He got $2 billion for the Clippers when the valuation of that team was around $800 million. He got double because it was basically a FU tax.
What if you had a guy like Mark Cuban interested and said, you know what, I'll take it on and I'll clean it up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see. I think the thing, Kev, is that the Wirtzes, along with Jeremy Jacobs, they're a part of the power brokers in the NHL, and good luck trying to get them out. I think what will happen is that Danny Wirtz will be handed control, and Rocky will take a backseat. But Rocky's going to still have control. He's still going to be part of it. Yeah,
but I just think it's really hard when you're made up. You're a business made up of 32 separate owners, and so I think it's very, very difficult to blast people out. And you're asking for $1 billion lawsuit.
Yes.
Like if you tried to get rid of the Blackhawks, they would not go gently into the night.
Yeah.
That would be, you're going to be dealing with it for years, and it's going to be ugly.
I don't think you get rid of the franchise. I'm just saying moving the ownership out.
Well, even that I think would be. I think there would be lawsuits galore.
There's been so many situations in sports of trying to move the ownership out. It just never happens.
It's hard. Yeah.
I mean, they've been in Ottawa. There have been things for years. It's just like that.
Not like this, Zach. This is
no, I know, but
but Russ, it's still hard. Like you're.
No, I get it. I get that it's hard. I'm just saying, I think this is worse. That's all.
With Melnick, it's financial malfeasance.
Right.
With the Coyotes, it's financial incompetence over a decade. With this, it's a besmirchment of the reputation of the league based on the fact that you had a situation going on and that some people knew. And what Wirt said was, everybody who was part of that is no longer in the organization. And Russ pointed out yesterday that Marian Hossa and Patrick Sharp are part of the GM search. They were on the 2010 team.
Yeah.
So
right. There's
it's all crap.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
They're still there. Yeah. The whole thing, and they're still playing, like Kane and Taves are still there playing.
Yeah.
And the reality is they are power brokers, Mike, but I don't know, maybe you get a different sense of this, Kevin, but I get a sense that the old school Jacobs, Wirtz, what was one time Snyder power broker group is definitely not as powerful as they once were.
That's fair. They're still powerful because they own the richest teams, but they're not as powerful as they once were. It's not like it was in the old days when Bill Wirtz essentially and a couple of his buddies ruled the league. Yeah,
Snyder forcing the trapezoid rule through, things like that, like just crazy stuff like that happened.
Yeah, or Bill couldn't call John Ziegler and say, John, I think we're going to have to do something here.
Right.
That doesn't go on anymore. And I do want to get in Arizona because I had a fascinating conversation with someone who's involved in the league and has known what's going on for years and has a real sense of the history about these things. And he made just the most interesting comment. And he said, I'm not taking credit for it because it was said to him by another league executive. He said, the funny thing about Gary Bettman is it's a lot easier to get into this league than it is to get out of it. And he said, Gary will let you in, but he will never let you out.
Yep.
And he said, the issue that we don't know is because he said Gary Bettman always has a plan. Has a plan. Yeah. Did he see the current Coyotes ownership as the short-term solution or the long-term solution? If he saw it as the short-term solution, there's no issue here. Gary's got it figured out. He knows what he's going to do. If he saw it as the long-term solution, then we have a problem.
Yeah, so I'm going to guess that he saw it as the long term, but we don't know.
We don't have any idea. Yeah,
but you don't have any idea. But the one thing I do know is I've been told that, and you can take this, you can interpret it, trying to put it into language that you're using there, because that the NHL loves their billionaire owners and likes their millionaire owners, and I would say that that he saw this situation in Arizona as the only solution, but definitely not a long-term solution.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I don't know. The other thing he told me is just this great story of, and I can't even remember the Coyotes owner. It was that string of ownership they had. It wasn't the guy that would try to put make it all part of the strip mall. What was that guy's name? Yeah, I think it was the one after him. But anyway, somebody apparently just tried to give the franchise back and said to Gary Bettman, "Here, I'm done."
Right.
It's like yours. And
what's the return policy?
And Gary basically said, no, it doesn't work like that. So,
Well, but
Well, to the point is, I mean, there's an unwritten thing, right, that if you buy a team, you can't move it for 7 years. You've heard that.
Yeah.
Well, there's I mean, you don't get to move it unless basically the league says you can move it.
Right. And then, but I've always heard that, like I heard in Winnipeg, there was a lot of talk when the Jets went back to Winnipeg that they weren't going to stay there forever. Even though it was a great thing for Winnipeg.
Yeah, I don't think anybody believed that.
Well, please, I mean, their owner is the richest man in Canada.
He's a billionaire. He's a billionaire, Mike. So there's that's what I mean. The billionaire owners, they love their billionaire owners, but with a billionaire owner, they're not going to be able to say as much. They're not going to be able to say you can't do this, you can't do that. The way the NHL.
So is the owner of the Coyotes. Alex Morello is a billionaire.
On paper, anyhow.
At least on paper. I mean, but the thing is, I mean, you look at the ownership history of that team over the last couple of years, and Barroway essentially just not gave away, but he said, I don't want part of this anymore. I'm selling it to Morello. And now Morello is looking at this thing like, okay, I want to make a big deal out of this in terms of real estate. And if I can't make a big deal out of the arena involving $1 billion real estate deal, then what? And then that's what I'm saying. The then what is, playing the games at Arizona State. If you don't have a building it's just a joke. It really is.
Yeah, it's a bad situation. Now, the man I talked to yesterday also said that the two elements of the small arena that are the big elements, he said it's got nothing to do with parking. Everything might have a better deal on that. It's the signage on the boards, whether that can convert, quickly, and it's the luxury boxes. The Arizona State thing only has 3 or 4. And even though the Coyotes don't sell those out, those boxes end up getting occupied on the games at some sort of, so there's revenue that comes out of them. I don't know if there's sort of,
it's a definite
selling them half price or all that kind of stuff. But he said, though, that's the, the kind of lost revenue. And he said, in terms of marking in the, for a college deal, he said that's going to be no problem. Like people will be kind of excited about seeing this small venue. It'll be a short period of time. He said it was supposed to be 2.5 years, or 2, or maybe 3 full, but it won't be longer than that. So
I think it'll be 3 full. I'd be shocked if it's 2.5.
Well, the construction season there is year round.
Right.
So that, will take some time off. But apparently there's some environmental things.
There's a landfill they got to deal with.
Yeah, right. But the question is, Kev, and I would assume that this is the case, but maybe we can find out going forward. I would only assume that the Arizona State scenario and them playing for 3 years there is contingent on a building agreement and shovel in the ground and them working toward that. If they can't get Tempe to sign off on that, then I would say that there's no way.
That's been reported. I mean, you're right on that. So for sure.
They're not going to know unless they know. They have to have something definite.
Yeah, I mean, they got to have some sort of agreement, and I mean, it seems. I hate to use this word because the connotation of it is so negative, but it seems dubious that they're are going to be able to pull this off. I mean, I agree with Mike on this. It sounds ridiculous.
And they don't have a lot of time. Like they don't have a lot of time.
No, they're running out of time. That's
the big thing. Like if they had another year to pull this off, maybe.
Well, and the final thing that I was told yesterday is, everybody seems to think that you can just pick this franchise and move it somewhere and it'll be hunky dory in the start of next season. Like that's as big a problem as the one it is to get arena into a new thing. Not that they can't find plenty of places to move it to. Move it to by next fall.
Right.
There's huge lead-up stuff. There's a huge lead-up involved in those things.
But hold on, there's no other option. They don't have a rink anyhow.
Well, right, but this is, and I understand what
that's why there's a possibility that they're going to have to play in Arizona at a small place.
Well, because say for example, and we talked about Houston. Say for example, Houston is the destination. They've got to plug in what the building availability in Houston is to the existing schedule, and they could be playing on like
Tuesday afternoon.
Right, exactly. Because so it's not.
Yeah, no, I mean that's just one of the guys said that it's not as simple as he said. I keep reading these stories that people are saying, yeah, well, let's just move it, and that's certainly viable in the long term, because he said, there's probably 10 cities out there that sees what's happened with Seattle and Vegas, and they're chomping at the bit, but they can't do it by September.
No, and if there's one thing Bettman hates is kludgy. Like, Bettman's not a kludgy guy. Like, he does not like things to be done.
No, well, and the other issue is you couldn't even get a staff up and running.
Right.
They'd be operating at such a disadvantage. No marketing, no time to study the area, to get someone to work on a naming contest. Like, all that is going to require time.
So the biggest time thing is, and this is something else that you got to remember when they're moving into the smallest arena, like you say, there's 3 luxury boxes. I don't know how many luxury boxes are sold to businesses, but I'm sure it's more than 3.
Oh, of course.
And right now in Arizona, and I'm sure, and those people that pay $150,000 a year for that stuff. So you're telling me that they've already paid that money. So what are you going to do with that? Like, how are you going to play that out?
I don't envy Bill Armstrong in the slightest when it comes to what he has to do for next year, and based on not only this situation, but the fact that they have like 13 or 14 unrestricted free agents. Good luck trying to convince, but now they have cap room and they'll be able to pay players, obviously, but good luck trying to find players who will sign more than a 1-year deal to play anywhere.
This whole thing will be a bad look, and it'll be embarrassing. It really will.
It will be a bad look, but players are going to want to go there. And, if the kind of players that Arizona has are the players that don't have a lot of options.
They want to play anywhere they can play, and
and it's Arizona. it's
and that's a nice place to live. Houston's a nice place to live. I mean
you're not going to get Claude Giroux to sign long run. You're not going to get a top free agent.
Right.
But they're going to be guys. The Alex Gachon, the world are going to.
Bill Kessel,
the new Mike Sillinger of our time.
Bill Kessel will want to re-sign there because they want to play golf. All right,
I have something to Mike before we get into it. So, and it was brought to my attention by some fans, and I told them I would bring it up on here. They asked me on Twitter. And that is, people are really upset with the way this All-Star Game weekend is being televised. Have you heard about this at all?
No.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday, but go ahead.
You did talk about it yesterday. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Well, if you talked about it yesterday,
no, but just
give your opinion.
I mean, the gist of it, so basically the game tonight is not on ESPN Plus, right? So if you're a cord cutter, there is no way to watch the skills competition at this point. Is that true?
Oh, okay. That part I didn't talk about.
Yeah, it's only on ESPN, the skills competition, but there's no way to watch it. It's not streaming on ESPN Plus, which is a why type. Why is it not streaming on ESPN Plus?
Well, I mean that's weird, because I've seen Major League Baseball games that are on ESPN be broadcast on online as well.
Well, from what I heard, from what being reported, and this is out there, that the game tomorrow is on. Well, the actual All-Star game is on ESPN Plus.
Oh, I thought it was on TNT. Okay, I'm sorry.
Right, it's on TNT on television, but it's also on ESPN.
Oh,
no, it's on. Wait, the actual game is
on ESPN it's on ESPN on television. In television, right?
The actual game's on ABC and ESPN Plus. The actual
ABC and ESPN Plus. There you go. But tonight, if it is indeed true, and I got to do.
No, it is true. I'm looking right now, and it just says on ESPN. Period.
Isn't that crazy that there's not a streaming version of
that? Is crazy, but I'm going to tell you something even crazier. My feeling is the game should be on ESPN and ESPN Plus, and actually the skills should be on national TV, because more people are interested in the skills than they are in the actual game.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I'll have my family will sit down and watch the skills competition every year. They like it. That's fun. They'll sit down. And they don't want to watch.
Just like with the NBA, everybody watches the dunk contest.
Right, but why did they do it the opposite? I don't understand.
I don't know.
And but the weirdest thing about all of this is, what is the point of that? Like, what is the point of not putting on ESPN Plus? Like, I can usually find a reason that they don't put it somewhere.
ESPN didn't want it, like on ESPN Plus. They wanted an exclusive. So they're basically telling you, ESPN doesn't care if some fringe fans who have cord cut aren't watching it. They don't care.
Yeah, but that's a lot of people.
This is their marquee. They're like, hey, we got this. This is our thing. you buy our service, or we don't care.
This is like a cable TV screw you cord cutters thing.
The thing is it sort of goes in the opposite direction. Like during the regular season, I know that a lot of Sabre fans have been pissed off where there's like 4 or 5 games. They get the games locally on MSG.
Yeah. Right.
And I think there was a game in late October, where they played the Bruins, and the game was on Hulu and ESPN Plus. And everybody lost their minds on social media because there was no local outlet covering the Sabres games. So this is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Now it's on network TV, but it's not on the court.
It's not on locally.
Right, here's the other option, Zach. So Fubo TV does carry ESPN.
Right. Yeah. Fubo carries ESPN. Also,
and it looks like
Hulu might.
Fubo, the one that's owned
Hulu
by.
does too, though. I think Hulu does.
They're owned by NBC. I know somebody that works for them, and also you could watch it on the app.
On what app? On NHL.com?
ESPN's
ESPN's app. Wow, that's fun.
Well,
let's all gather around the computer, kids.
Don't kill
Anybody have their iPad?
This reminds me of what was the. Rush, you'll remember. Remember John Ziegler took the league into
Sports Channel America.
Yeah, Sports Channel America. I couldn't watch it in Virginia. I couldn't watch it.
I mean, you never knew where you were going to find the game, and that's where it's been this season for me. Like, I don't object to the money. I object to not knowing where the game's going to be.
Right.
So, yeah, my local. Thank the Lord, my local cable provider. Since like 1979 has carried CBC and other channels from Toronto, which got me Hockey Night in Canada. And early on, I would get the Boston Bruins games on WSBK and the Rangers games and the Islanders games on WOR. So I had all these. As soon as they went to Sports Channel America and my local cable didn't cover it, the only stuff that I got was local Sabres games and Hockey Night in Canada. It was ridiculous. And they were on USA Network, and then I went to Sports Channel, and I only got like out of market games when it went to ESPN.
Can I tell you why Sports Channel America was the greatest thing that ever happened to me? It was a really funny story.
Maybe you, but nobody else.
No, I know, and nobody. But for me, it was. Okay, so this was the deal. I was pushing my dad, who was a Detroit Red Wings fan, and would listen to Strader doing the radio on JBR, which I used to call it. I think it was JBR, right? Is that right, Kevin?
WJR.
Yeah,
WJR. Right.
WJR, right? I used to listen to that all the time.
50,000 water.
Yeah, and we would. So my dad, who would sit there with his
760.
Yeah, we always buy a new AM radio for him because I would get the better AM radio that would get better reception, and I would hear like the entire blaring through the house as loud as possible with the static. My mom would freak out. So I said, I know, and I got my mom behind me because of that. So I said, Mom, this is what we can do. We can buy a big satellite dish, like the big satellite dishes, and we can get them all. We can get all the games on TV. And he says, no, but the games are on ESPN and everything like that. And we can watch most of the games on ESPN. When the second it goes to Sports Channel America, right? When that moment happens, and Sports Channel America is not on my local area. That's the moment I convinced my parents to get the giant satellite dish, which then makes me the most popular kid in the neighborhood by far. Because I'm talking the 12-foot satellite dish that sits in the back.
The massive one that took up half the
yard. It turns,
Yeah, that's a bird haven now.
It turns to the specific satellite, and then you go through it. And this is the period of time when I'm watching like Hockey Night in Canada, which is like unbelievable. I'm watching all this stuff because I'm getting Canadian. There's all the Canadian shows around there. But this is the time when the satellite feeds were commercial free, and they would just stay on. Because the commercials were being done back at the studio, so they would stay on the announcers who had been like, "Oh, this F and this and F and that." The announcers would just go off on these tirades while the break was going on.
Yeah.
And I was you don't know how popular I was. Like everybody wanted to come to my house. Everybody wanted to hang out with us because of that. It was just the greatest. So yes, thank you, Sports Channel America.
Okay, so Kev, I wanted to ask you about this, and then we'll lead into what we were, our sort of team. We'll do 2 teams, one seller and one buyer. But Pat Verbeek gets hired as the new Anaheim Ducks GM after a long stewardship under Steve Yzerman in Tampa and in Detroit. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a great hire. And I really commend them because I think you've got to peel back the onion a little bit to understand how good Verbeek is.
Right.
He's kind of quiet and soft spoken. You know, considering how he played, it's it's pretty amazing. But you know, when you get inside of Pat Verbeek and you realize that Steve Yzerman and he are very close because they see the game very similarly, and he has been with Yzerman since he got his job in Tampa Bay. They've been together 13 years. Yzerman trusts him. I interviewed Verbeek, and he talked about the fact that they don't always agree on players, and that's what Yzerman likes about him. Like, it's easy. It's hard, or I guess it's not easy to tell Steve Yzerman that you disagree with him.
Right.
But Verbeek can do that. He's got his own lengthy 500 goal career, 2,500 penalty minutes. But it's not that. Like, it's just that Yzerman really respects his thoughts on things, and I think he's going to do a great job. And he was really under the radar. Like you was under the radar. I agree. Yeah. You didn't hear a lot of people say, Pat Verbeek is going to get an NHL job as a general manager.
To those who didn't see him play, I was asked yesterday, someone asked me what kind of player he was, and the player I can most compare him to
Brad Marchand.
Brad Marchand, right? He was Brad Marchand.
Basically. For sure he is, minus the licking. He would get under your skin, with just playing, gritty, and it was like that, because of his size, it really was like the Tasmanian Devil. Like he would in the Bugs Bunny cartoons, he would like just spin around.
It was like that, yeah.
And except he would stop and score a goal.
Yeah, he's on the way.
His nickname was the Little Ball of Hate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's accurate. I mean, I remember him playing with Hartford, and then he went to a lot of other teams. Yeah, he was a devil.
That was my church youth group nickname, by the way, for a year.
There you go. Those are bowling teams' name, right?
Yeah, I was called Little Ball of Hate by my church youth group. Used to call me Little Ball of Hate forever. Another thing that Verbeek's going to be successful. He's yet another Hartford Whaler. It's just the amazing story of Hartford Whalers who have gone on who are still working in the NHL as like executives or coaches is incredible.
There's a lot.
I
don't know if they've all been good, but there's a lot of them.
There's also the real connection between Jim Devellano. If you look at, and I mentioned this in my Verbeek story today, where you look at Devellano when he started. He brought in Ken Holland, and of course Neil Smith, who's really out of it now, but. Neil Smith he mentored and then became a Ranger general manager and won. But of the current general managers, you have Jim Nill in Dallas. You have Don Waddell, who was hired by the Red Wings as assistant general manager, and now you have Pat Verbeek. You have Steve Yzerman, and I'm forgetting one. There's five, but also. The Tampa Bay Lightning, Steve Yzerman mentored Brisebois.
Right.
Yeah, who ends up becoming, and then you didn't even count Coley Campbell, who was part of their organization, and Brendan Shanahan. Who didn't have a management, but
Jim Nill was that the one you didn't mention?
I didn't. I'm missing one though. It's Yzerman, Nill, Waddell.
I'll think about it. I mean,
it's ridiculous that I can't come up with it.
But the other thing was that the runner-up was Jason Botterill in the search for the Anaheim GM. So he's a Seattle assistant GM. So and the thing was,
that's crazy.
It's Ken Holland. How did it be Ken Holland? Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Right there, you have it. Yeah.
Let's forget Scotty Bowman.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but let's leading us into our little game here. It's basically like what if you were the GM of and then we'll use Anaheim as the vehicle for this first, because I think they're really in an interesting situation, Kevin. The thing is, Verbeek in his press conference apparently said, I like the direction this team is going, but we're not there yet in terms of, we're not a playoff team or whatever. And they have 3 really prominent unrestricted free agents, 3 guys that if you said we're sellers, you could probably get a ton, but they probably want to keep some of them. So, okay, let's start with the 3 guys. You've got Lindholm, you've got Manson, you've got Raquel. If you can keep one of them, which one are you keeping?
Well, I'd keep two because I think they're going to sign Lindholm.
Yeah, Lindholm I have to keep.
Yeah, I think they're going to get him signed. That's just a guess.
Yeah.
So I'd trade Raquel, but I think it's important for that team to make the playoffs.
Yes.
You can't keep telling the fans we're rebuilding. Eventually, you've got to do something to make sure you get fans in your building, and you owe them something. So, they've played well enough. They're on their recent road trip. They were 3-0-2. Gibson's still playing well. That defense has been really strong. So I'd be reluctant to move those defensemen. And I don't think you're going to get.
Doesn't have any no trade, no move either, where Manson does. So
and to be honest with you, I don't think you can get a first round pick out of Manson.
Oh, no. I think you can. I know there's a team in Ontario that would give up a first round pick for Manson.
Really?
I think they would.
I don't know.
The joke that Elliot Friedman, apparently somebody in the NHL, a general manager, said the Leafs have wanted Josh Manson since Punch Imlach was the GM. and I think we were talking about this because a Leaf assistant GM was in Philadelphia for their last game, and I think that they were scouting Ristolainen. And if you assembled a list of right-hand shot defensemen that the Leafs are interested in, Manson's probably first, and I think Ristolainen is the fourth.
Yeah, I mean, just because you were shaking your head, who else do you think they'd be scouting if the Leafs were?
Oh no, I think they are scouting them.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm not saying that's not where they're looking. I'm just saying that I think that it's a
Well, let's put it this way then, because I know this is true because I talked to a GM. The love of Manson is not universal.
So, right. No, that's for sure.
100%. Now Raquel
last year too, because he was on the trade market last year a lot as well.
Right. I mean, that's
even though he had an extra year left, and there were some teams that thought about it last year too. And I think had it not been a weird COVID type season last year, I think that Manson probably would have gotten moved last year.
But here's the challenge for the Ducks when it comes to Lindholm. Right now, the highest earner is Cam Fowler at $6.5 million. You're probably going to have to pay Lindholm well above, not $8 million, but well above what Fowler is getting. So you're talking 7.5.
7.5 is probably it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I think you got to do that.
Yes, I agree.
So, and right now he's really playing well. And I just think they're going to come in and get that done. And I think now it's real easy because you're Pat Verbeek and you're new,
right?
And you come in and say, you're my guy.
But I think, I think
great point.
I think the challenge here, Russ, is that I think you can sign one of the two defensemen because both of them are UFA. So you sign Lindholm to a long deal. The year after, Jamie Drysdale's contract is up, and you're probably going to want to get him locked up long term.
If I can, but if I have to go bridge the first time just because I'm in a bad spot, then guess what? That's what I'm doing.
But you will definitely have to go bridge if you sign both of them. If you sign
one
of
them, I may have to do that.
I don't think they're going to sign Manson. Do you think they are?
I don't think so.
No, I think if they trade one of them, I think of the three, I think Manson is the guy that they trade. And apparently there's a lot of interest in Nick Delorier, but he's sort of a third, fourth line grinder type.
Right. Yeah, you get and that's the kind of draft pick you'll get, third or fourth.
Yeah, it's not going to be much. I mean, he's related to the Manson from Edmonton, right?
Yeah, he's Dave Manson's son.
Right.
Dave Manson's son, right? Yeah. And
so Chicago Leafs.
I mean, I wonder about it. I always think about Edmonton. I mean, I think it would be such a great thing, but I don't know if Holland likes him or not, but that's a situation where I think that, man, he would be a great fit there.
If I'm sorry, if Ken Holland trades for anything other than a goaltender, he should be fired.
Which goalie do you want him to go after?
That's the thing. The problem is that
I think right now.
I mean, I'm giving you the same question the GM asked me, and I didn't have a good answer.
I mean, if you're looking for an upgrade, I think Khudobin is an upgrade over Koskinen.
I'll tell you where they could go, but I think that they have to wait a little bit longer because
Well, somebody said
but I honestly think Halak is a guy.
Halak is a no move. I don't think he wants to go to Edmonton.
I think he might go to Edmonton.
No, Funky in the chat said Varlamov, and Varlamov might make. But the thing is, Varlamov is
that's way too expensive. You can't get
$5 million cap hit, and he's got another year.
So, that's what
Edmonton, that's probably not going to work. I agree.
The guy I was talking to who asked me that question, and I didn't give a good answer to. He said, "Yeah, that's the problem." He said, "I looked at that, and he said, if I wouldn't want to be Ken Holland because I don't like the options." So
that's a really bad spot.
I did want to mention one thing about the Ducks, and this is like Bob Murray's legacy. The Silverberg and Henry contracts are killing them.
Yeah.
Well, but that's sort of Russ. That's sort of counterbalanced by the Raquel contract, which is under $4 million for a guy.
No, but you can't counterbalance it all, and eventually. If you have guys really underperforming that have a certain amount of length, even if they're at 5.5 or 5.8, it's killing them. They can't move those guys.
But here's the overriding. Not only Drysdale. This is why maybe they can sign one of the three, maybe two if they. Okay, not only Drysdale, but Zegras' contract is up after 22-23. You come on, that this is that's.
Well, by then, I think they'll have it worked out, and I think they would give Zegras long term before Drysdale. To be honest, it
depends on what Drysdale.
Before we move to the other team, Mike, I want to throw something. I get a lot of debate about this, and it's in my blog today, just briefly. And because I went through, we don't have to go through all the players. We can do this or not, but. One of the things I did, and I think this, I came up with this too late to get this to you guys. Let's do this as the idea for the show today. We don't have to do it.
Do it on Monday. Yeah.
But it's the concept of it is one NHL All-Star from each team, right? And there's a lot of debate about that right now going on. Why does there have to be one NHL All-Star? And who that would be if you were just to take one all time. So basically the best player all time for each team is what I did. I went through that. And the reason I bring up Anaheim is I already got a lot of debate on it, on the fact that I went with Ryan Getzlaf as my one Anaheim all-time player.
We wanted Korea.
Yeah, Korea or Solani. A lot of people said those two, and but I don't know. To me,
Korea is the most likable, but I think Getzlaf is the right pick.
To me, I think Getzlaf is the best all-time Duck.
Yeah, I might side with the masses on that. I might go with Korea. Yeah, I'd have to think about it. It's a real hard call because Getzlaf has gone longer. So
he has definitely. I mean, he's been, but that one took a lot of controversy. And of course, my Toronto pick took a lot of controversy, Mike.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ak, you're insane.
Well, who is the Toronto pick?
He said Austin Matthews.
I think Austin Matthews.
It's friggin' Dave Keon. Are you kidding me?
It is still Dave Keon. I have to agree. It's too early.
Matthews continues to smash records all the time.
Yeah, but Ak, you're projecting 3-4 years in the future.
Right.
Yeah, but I still think he's better than Keon ever was right now.
Yeah, but it's just too early. I mean, it's kind of like
there's always that debate on the early, but
I had with Mark Lazarus, who wants to say that Patrick Kane is the all-time greatest American-born player, and I say he may be, but I think it's insulting to Chelios or Leach to or Modano to say that when he's still playing.
Yeah. And
Mike, do you have an update? Is that why the music went off?
Mike, we can do this on Monday if you guys want to.
Definitely because it'd be. But okay,
it's definitely a fun debatable list.
Yeah, I like that.
But this is a game that we can play until March 21st. But I wanted to do one seller and one buyer, and the buyer is the Rangers, and it ties into what you reported reported yesterday, because the Rangers are buyers, and I just heard Elliot Friedman on the radio say the Rangers, because of Dolan, because of where they are right now, they're going to try to make a big splash. They're going to make a big ad.
Let me explain what I wrote about yesterday real quickly, because I got a lot of questions about it.
Yeah.
I wrote that I had heard that Montreal had actually talked to the Rangers about the availability of Lafreniere. I heard this from.
They're going to make a call, but they're
good source in Montreal. And it brought up to my mind the thought of, okay, this trade deadline, the one thing that the different narrative, and I talked to other people about this, the different narrative that might be developing here is with so many sellers, right? And so few buyers and so few money out there. The teams that have money to spend and that have cap money to spend are not, we always say there's a couple teams up top. Yeah, there are, but there's actually a lot of teams at the bottom that have money to spend. So reality is we always say they're just going to dump players, but with all these players available, we could see, what Yzerman did last year, like with the Anthony Mantha trade. We could see more of that.
Well, you could see it for teams that want to spend money. Ottawa doesn't want to spend money, so they're not going to do it.
But no, for Montreal, Montreal might sit there and say, okay, we're rebuilding, but you know what? There are some players out there that are seriously inexpensive at the deadline right now for us. If we want to do some retooling right here, like to actually make, and we could see a couple teams, perhaps, I mean, and maybe even Detroit, maybe Eiserman pulls another one like he did.
I mean, I'll give you a percentage for
Lafreniere. Yeah, that was an even money deal or pretty
right.
close.
I
think actually Eiserman saved money on that deal. Is that right?
But it was an example of a team that's not going anywhere, building for the future at the trade deadline, which is not something that we often see, And
that's fair.
I think that we could see that this year, though, because of the few teams that are actually going to be able to have money to make. So this is actually a time that Montreal could build for the future at the trade deadline.
I think they will, but they won't be getting Lafreniere.
Yeah, no, they won't. They won't. I agree with that. But who could they possibly offer?
Well, obviously Sherrod would be the starting point, right?
Please don't say Petrie, because that's ridiculous. He's 30.
Well, no, but you're not going to give up Lafreniere, period. But you certainly wouldn't give him up involving a rental.
What if you were to give up Caulfield?
I still don't think that even.
They're not going to trade Caulfield in that deal either.
So. Why wouldn't they trade Caulfield for Lafreniere?
Because they know
would, but the Rangers aren't going to do it.
Right, the Rangers won't do it, and they won't want to do it.
What about Caulfield and Sherrod for Lafreniere?
That's not even nearly enough.
No.
For the number one pick in the draft?
But Lafreniere hasn't played like a number one pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Because Gallant's been playing him on the third and fourth line.
He's still going to have 15, 17 goals.
Yeah.
No, he's still very good. No question about it. But, Montreal, but I'm just saying the Rangers, if I'm the Rangers,
it's not going to happen.
Right now. Actually,
yeah, that's how I feel. Maybe they've talked about it, but
they probably called and said, because it's Jeff Gordon, they're not going to hang up on him.
Right now, I would assume Montreal is in. They're not in getting Lafreniere mode. They're in selling mode, and then I think
that's what I assume too. But Gordon apparently is thinking he can get some bargains out there. Maybe it's not.
I don't doubt that he called. I'm just saying the Rangers.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not saying it's going to happen either. I'm just saying. I'm just going off the side of. And let's take Lafreniere off the.
Okay, but let me say for Sherrod, as an example, you would get a pick out of the Rangers and Zach Jones or Nils Lundkvist. That's what you would get.
Okay. Yeah.
For Sherrod.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you can get Nils Lundkvist either.
Yeah, I wonder.
So you might get Zach Jones and a pick then.
But Russ, let me.
Zach Jones could be a very good defenseman.
Let me ask you this: Are you saying that the number one target for Drury is a defenseman?
I think so, and I think it's Sherrod.
Okay.
But they're also going to go after a center too. They need a third center.
It's multi-pronged. Like he's got enough money. And he can make it work that he can get both a forward and a defenseman.
Right. I think they're going to go after Hurdle too. I have a feeling.
People around the league thinks that it's Hurdle and Sherrod. I've also heard Pavelski and Sherrod. So
I think Pavelski is the perfect fit for them. Like I think if I'm the Rangers, I would do everything I can to get Pavelski. But whether or not they actually trade Pavelski or not is another question. His line right now might be one of the best lines in hockey. So
they're not that far out. I looked yesterday; they were 4 out. But you got to watch the Western or the Pacific because that's where Dallas has a shot. A 5-3 type deal.
Right.
Here's the question. And I know that throughout the years, Buffalo will never trade with Toronto. Ever since the Dave Andrechuk deal, the blowback would be too much. Montreal, Toronto very rarely have been. Would the Philadelphia Flyers trade with the Rangers? Would Giroux be a fit with the Rangers?
They would, unfortunately. They didn't used to, but the matter is that they have traded with the Penguins recently. So if they can trade with the Penguins, they can trade with the Rangers.
Right, but I don't think they would trade Giroux to the Rangers, not this season. If Giroux ended up with the Rangers, it's because he signed a contract with them. That's a whole other subject, but I don't think they would trade him to the Rangers. I don't.
The PR hit would be a nightmare, Russ.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, I totally agree with that. But trading
if they trade him to another team and they trade him to the Rangers, hey,
that could happen. I mean, I could totally see Giroux signing in Pittsburgh next year completely. I've said that before, but I think that's where he wants to play.
It's not outrageous at all.
Yeah, but I think
their money is not. They're going to try to sign Letang and Malkin.
Brian Russ just traded, and then you got traded.
Yeah, and the same guy that asked me about what goalie Hound's going to sing also said to me, they're not going to trade Rust So,
yeah, I don't think they're trading Rust.
I don't think they're trading Rust either, but I think when I brought that up yesterday, I brought that up in that he is a factor in what happens to the other players on that team. Like as far as Letang and Malkin goes,
well, if they sign him to,
could end up playing into that.
Right, if they sign him to a big contract, then
right,
and Funky, like I said, I said the first guy to go if they sign Rust is Zucker. You know,
yes.
It's I don't know. I think it affects Malkin, especially from what we've heard that Malkin is willing to take less to stay in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Maybe Letang would be at the point in his career where he would take less to stay.
Yeah, don't you think it's tricky though? I mean, like you can't insult him though. You know, like
that's be like $5 million. It can't be less than $5 million to me. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, I think you would offer him 4 and. You know,
they're ready to build a statue in Toronto because Jason Spezza has taken $750,000 the last 2 years.
Yeah, no, it's really kind of more. I'll tell you one of the more interesting situations, and we've talked about it at length, but no one's talked about it in the last week or so. Is what in God's earth the Golden Knights are going to do? Like, you know, I've seen everybody write about who they got to trade. Yeah, but those guys that they got to trade, I don't think anybody's going to take them, and they're all going to say the same thing. Give me Riley Smith.
Yeah, they're going to have to trade Riley Smith. I think it's at the end of the day they're going to have to decide. Well, which makes the Eichel trade, and you have to include Riley Smith as part of the Eichel trade. Like when you look at it.
I mean, well, you mean to clear the room for Eichel?
Yeah, no. When all is said and done. You guess what they gave up for Eichel? Did they give up? How much did they give for Eichel?
Okay, I think it'll be Dadenoff. I would offer Dadenoff back to Florida.
They would never take him in a million years.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
Somebody will take him though.
No, I don't know about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's one of the guys. That's one of the guys they want to trade, and I don't think they've had any takers.
Arizona. There you go.
You can trade him to Arizona if you have to.
Well, the problem is the next year. If it was just 1 year, they could move them.
Yeah,
so that's the thing. That's the thing, Kev. Is like Arizona has to pay somebody next year with 14 UFAs. I think I have to look it up on Cap Central or Cap Friendly. I think they have like $29 million in salary. It's like
let's put it in terms that are probably real though. Would you give up a first round pick to get them to take him off you? If you're Vegas, maybe you
have to. Yeah, you might have to. I mean, because giving up him at least gives you the best chance of winning this year. At least it gives you, it lets you keep your. And Riley Smith is a really important OG member of that.
He's their best penalty killer too, isn't he? Or him or Stone. I mean,
and he's one of the few parts of that magic that's still there. You know what I mean?
So right now for next year, the Arizona Coyotes have only 18 players under contract and have 30 million in cap space. So they're gonna, and now you may
18 players, and I mean you're close to 23 if you're at 18. So
you got 30 million between 5 players. You can play 6. You can sign $6 million players. Like, think about that.
Yeah, they could take Dadenoff easy.
If they want to.
But he's not that good. I mean, the reality is
he's got 21 points and 10 goals. If you put that on Arizona, he's one of their best scorers.
I was shaking my head why they made that trade in the first.
We didn't understand it from the beginning.
Holden for Dadenoff when Dadenoff had a crappy year.
But on Arizona, he would be one of their best players. He would.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, yeah, he would. He'd be their top line, scorer. Yeah. But interesting too. Just we've talked about Patrick Laine, and he's had a miserable year because his father died and he was injured and he just wasn't scoring. And I think he had 6 goals in 21 games. I looked, but in the last 3 games he played, he had 4 goals, a couple assists. All of a sudden he's got 10 goals and 10 assists. Now he's got 20 points in 24 games. Yeah, so perception is incredible, but because now it seems like he's having a pretty good year.
He's almost at a 40 goal pace, Kev.
What he has to do, though, think about what he has to do, because he will forever be compared with McDavid. So forever, what he has to do
with Matthews,
with Matthews, what he has to do is just beyond what he probably is capable of doing. But yet he still could be a really effective.
When he was here a couple weeks ago, I saw the way he worked on the power play. He scored a power play goal. And that's why I felt like teams would be interested in him, because if nothing else, he could help your power play. He will make your power play better.
Now,
well, I think you got what you got to do with him, though. You got to go and do your due diligence and see what his value is in the trade market, because I think it'll be less than you think. Not so much because people wouldn't want to have him, but he's already making $7.5 million. He's a little up and down.
I'll tell you why I don't think it happens, Kevin, because I think that the thing about him is they don't have like we talked about how they have a tough time keeping people in Columbus, and they have him locked up.
No, they don't. That's the problem.
He's an arbitration eligible RFA next year.
I'm sorry, that's my fault. I apologize.
Yeah, he's 1 year away from unrestricted free agency. So he's
okay. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. I apologize.
So one note before we end the show here.
I'm gonna block Randy. I'm just throwing that out there anyhow.
Why? What is he doing?
He wants pumpkin burgers. I don't know what he's talking about. Man.
Russ hates pumpkin spice in any form. Chris Peters, our friend, reported that 3 players from Team USA before boarding the plane to Beijing are in COVID-19 protocol. That's Jake Sanderson, Stephen Kampfer, and Andy Milley. And I know, Kev. I think Justin Abdelkader was an alternate. Was an alternate, so he might get in there now.
He might. Well, I think one of the reasons he went is I think he thinks there's a reasonable shot.
Sure.
And Russia's having the same problems now. Misimov's going to go on February 7th. I reported yesterday there were 6 people because they wouldn't give out names. There are players now. Nesterov, I think, was okay, so he went over. All of this is in flux. Like, we don't even know what these teams are going to be like until they're actually out there practicing. We really don't.
No, it's we after seeing what happened to the World Juniors, aren't you just scared? You just kind of feel like.
Yeah, it's bad. And just one other thing too, for those who have I'm already caught up. This is the first Olympics that I haven't been to a Winter Games since the 1980s, and I've really enjoyed watching them on television. Except, did anybody watch the U.S.-Finland game and the Brianna Decker injury? Oh my God!
When I heard
hearing the scream was
the
rough.
Scream was too much.
Yeah.
And that was just
my heart sunk.
She's a tough kid. Like,
she's out on crutches watching the game.
I definitely want to talk about the Olympics on Monday, Kev. The one thing, just finally, I saw a couple reporter friends of ours showing like video of like, say, the commissary in Beijing, where they have a robot arm making like hamburgers, and there's no people. It's just like it's all like robotized.
Yeah, but you know what? I have some great stats on Sportsology. There's some things. They have 250 hydrogen buses. They have an unmanned train that if you drive from
is that a sentient train, Russ? Is that what that is?
It's an unmanned train that takes like 47 minutes, and it's from a city that starts with a J. I can't pronounce it because I forget. I have to look at it again.
The funniest thing.
But the train. But hold on, it would take you 3 hours and 17 minutes to get there. But this unmanned train gets you there 47 minutes. So my question is, do you have enough guts to take it? I would not take it.
Not a chance in hell.
Unmanned train.
I wouldn't get it.
Sounds like a bomb to me.
Yeah, was that train made by Elon Musk?
Yeah.
I'm here.
I'm watching the Olympics last night. I'm, to fall asleep. One of my favorite things to watch is curling.
There you go.
I love watching curling.
I do too. I'm totally into the curl. And my new thing is now I loved mixed doubles curling.
Yes. Did you watch Canada and Switzerland? Did you watch Canada?
Yeah, I've watched most of the matches.
So you're watching Canada and Switzerland. The funniest thing is, what other sport can you actually hear people? They're talking about the Swiss couple, right? And they used to be married, but now they're not.
No, they're not. But a lot of the other couples are married.
They are married. But
here's the best thing about curling. Where else? You talk about, the NHL thinks they're so cool because they put someone between the bench so they can get a kind of feel. Yeah. In curling, the competitors sit and talk about their strategy in front of the other team,
and argue about it.
And argue for the whole audience. So you're there right there, and they're arguing about how they should play the shot. And then the coach comes down, and he throws his 2 cents in. And then the guy says, "Well, you are the coach." It's just awesome.
I'm watching the Swiss team, and even though we can't understand what the Swiss people are necessarily saying to each other all the time, I'm watching the expressions on their face of like a couple that used to be married that is now bickering during an Olympic event.
So
about what they're going to do.
So when that couple makes a bad shot, is it a Swiss miss?
It is, yeah.
But the
and they have advanced stats in curling now. Like they have percentage of shots missed, so it's awesome.
Yeah,
Russ, you got to get in the modern world.
I'm in the modern world. I interviewed the guys when they won. I thought they were great guys. And if I try and watch the sport, it's shuffleboard on ice. It's boring.
I do.
Yeah, it's not. It's really not.
I do enjoy women's curling, and
have you played it? Have anybody on here played curling? Have you ever done it?
I have. I've curled. Yeah,
I did it too. It's really fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a great game. So
it's really fun. All the time we have for today, folks. Enjoy the Olympics for sure this weekend, and enjoy the All-Star events tonight if you as long as you have cable. If not, then enjoy them tomorrow.
Or the ESPN app.
Or the ESPN app, right? Okay, so you can watch it. There'll be a way to watch it, so everyone can gather around their iPads with their families and watch it. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey, folks. We will all be back.